as a result of stage 3 of its capital restructuring, and Fonterra then will just have this immense power to usurp, their efforts. Combine that with the TPP negotiations that are underway, where we may end up with a bilateral trade agreement with the states. Farmers there are very, very concerned.
Yeah, well, we'll see how the vote goes next week. After the break, we look at who's performing well and who needs to be taken to task. Welcome back. Now it's on to you beauty, praise, or abolishing, the opposite. Well, what do you have, Keith?
Well, it's praise this week. I think we underestimate the value of our scientists in the agriculture community. The whole of New Zealand underestimates what they do. I mean, a lot of them have worked hard for years with very little recognition, but they lead the world in many areas of research and pasture and other areas. I see they're working on reducing the methane gas production by breeding new plants and other varieties of things. They're working at a lot of areas all the time, behind the scenes most of the time, and I think they really deserve a clap on the back, because it's so important for New Zealand.
Why do you think they're not getting that recognition so far, Liam?
It's not sexy enough. Their research and their findings never make the headlines, or unless it's about cloning or genetic modification.
Indeed, but that was one thing that you could always rely on. The former chairman, the former chief executive of Ag Research, Andy West, for. He was a person who went out there and did get in the headlines and really get excited about science.
It was a fantastic flag waver for the industry. Yeah.
And hopefully his successor is going to continue that level of getting science out in front of New Zealanders. Yeah,
Tom Richardson, he comes with a pretty good set of credentials, so I'd like to see him out there as publicly visible as Andy was as well.
Yeah. What about the long-running difficulty that ag scientists have, Keith, with their constantly being restructured, being asked to make proposals to get funding, spending more time on that than they actually do on the hard science?
I was on the stage at a point when they were told, the scientists, they had to become commercial. And it was almost a feeling of shock in their midst, at feeling they were scientists. A lot of them had no commercial experience, and it was a big change. Now, I think they've accepted the change to some degree, but I think in the long run, they deserve more recognition for what they do and for what they bring to the New Zealand economy.
So we shouldn't be tying them up with these sort of restrictions. They should be able to get on and do what they do best.
They should be able to be scientists and have a backing enough so that the background stuff is done behind them.
Sure. Now, Liam, I believe you have a bollocking this week.
I do, and I'm sorry, Keith, it's in the science theme. But MAF, the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry's response to, I think it's called plant and food research these days, there was a bit of an outbreak of some genetically modified, some sort of mustard. It's a weed that they use for research, and it escaped. Probably because it just wanted to be free, but it escaped from a glass house and was discovered, fortunately. Apparently it's pretty innocuous, but the point is, MAF just let these guys off the hook after a brief investigation, and it just proves that they're not taking biosecurity in this country seriously. This wasn't an invasion across the borders from some little bug or some little plant pest. This was right here onshore and should have been better managed. And if we're going to look at GM and go down this path, which I think we should, it needs to be better policed.
So biosecurity begins at home?
Absolutely.
So what do you think they should be doing in the case of any future situation like that? Marshalling more resources, getting onto it more rapidly?
Well, we've got rules and regulations. They need to be enforced and they need to be adhered to. It doesn't matter how small this breach may have been in terms of scale, but it needed to be jumped on. Well,
I have a You Beauty, the same as Keith this week, and that's for Solid Energy Chairman John Palmer, who brought up the whole subject of SOEs and outside investment. I think a well-researched debate. Why can't we have that now rather than waiting until after next year's election?
Agreed.
Do you agree with that, Keith?
Oh, definitely. I think in a way, we need a lot of support and a lot of input into these things.
The whole point of the government's involvement in these sort of structures is to grow them and to make them a better enterprise that may be able to go on and do the sort of things that John Palmer was talking about with Solid Energy's plans, Liam.
Yeah, and if it can attract outside capital, foreign
Definitely.
investment, I mean, that's what we need here. I mean, it's the only way we're going to get more income into New Zealand without boosting productivity, and it seems an obvious path to go down.
Well, let's see what happens there.
Right.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thanks to my guests, National Business Review journalist Liam Baldwin and former Federated Farmers Vice President Keith Hanning. And thanks to you for watching. Please email your comments to country99tv.co.nz. Check out my blog there, and we'll see you next week. All right.